social media. They kind of block the third parties, but it's beautiful. Okay, it's just warming up. We should be live right now. And now we're going to go and record. All right, guys, if you're watching this live, if you have any questions, comment down below, and Dustin will either answer live or later on. Or I'll be able to answer them. And we're going to go live on the podcast in 3, 2. Welcome to another episode of $1 Million Stories. I'm with the best-selling author. And if you follow him on social media, you know exactly what I'm talking about. His name is Dustin Bogle. And I've been very excited to actually sit down and talk with him in front of you guys, because we're going to get into wrestling, business, entrepreneurship, and his new book called Reinforce Your Gym. Dustin, thanks for being here, man.
I'm excited, man. Thank you. And I want to say a very heartfelt thank you, because it's you that helped me achieve this, man. I know I put the words to paper, but you guided me the way like a great mentor on how to get there. Held the torch, walked the path, the whole 9 yards. So appreciate you, brother.
It's been an honor, man. I think the first time we started talking, I think it had to do with me being on your podcast, and I had no idea of your wrestling background and all that. And I noticed something in the background on your shelf there, the action figures, and I brought that up after the podcast ended, and he goes, "Oh," and Dustin said to me, yeah, I have a background in wrestling. I know a bunch of people in AEW. My brother's actually involved in AEW. I'm like, what? Wait, we should just talk about that for about 2 hours on a podcast. So, I love equating old school wrestling or even current day wrestling, the skill set, the art of it, and matching it with entrepreneurship. And you can learn a lot from wrestling. So tell us a little bit about your background, and do you look at it the same way?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's funny because in the book, I opened with a story from my time in wrestling, and there's so many lessons that I cross over, because a lot of people see it as a show, but it's also a business. I mean, Vince McMahon just sold the WWE for what he bought as $1 million in the 80s from his dad, and he just sold it for $9 billion. And so that is 40 years later. That is not a long time, ladies and gentlemen. And so remember that, that thing that people think you're crazy. They said he was crazy when he talked about this thing called WrestleMania being on closed circuit television. People are going to go down to the movie theaters or watch at a big movie, like screen, and like, what the heck? And like, look at what it has become. And so I know I've learned a ton of lessons in being involved in it. I actually ran a wrestling promotion for a while, and you have to sell tickets. And then when you're on a show, you have to contribute to the show by getting people's attention and getting an audience and pulling people to come and buy tickets. Wrestlers are what puts butts in the seats. And so the story that I share in the book, it's funny. I checked all the boxes, Mike, to go to Mexico and be kidnapped and killed. So, a wrestling promoter saw me in LA.
That's a great story, right out of the gate in the book, by the way, right out of the gate.
He says, you're going to be a great Rudo. So in, American wrestling, we say heel and baby face. And then in Lucha Libre, Technicos are the baby face and Rudos are the bad guys. So he's like, I want you to be a Rudo to Rey Mysterio Sr., which is Rey Mysterio Jr.'s uncle. And he has the same mask and everything. And so he's like, I wanted you to come and do this Mexico tour, 2 weeks, $2,000, which was big money for me then. And he's like, you're going to be in the main event. You're going to be the evil gringo. Everybody, if you ever go to Mexico, it's cheap heat to just say Mexico sucks and to be a white guy standing in the ring. And I had batteries thrown at me. I had cups of piss thrown at me. And that's just part of the game, you're put on a show and you're going to deal with the hate that comes from being the bad guy. And so get in the ring every night. We're having a phenomenal match. And I kind of start to notice, the show's a little bit light. I thought there'd be more people there, it was maybe 800 and we were expecting 2,400 to 4,000 at a show. And wrestlers start to get a gauge for like gates and how many people are there. It's kind of weird. You start to just, be able to be in a room and you could say, oh, there's probably about 30,000 people there. And then you find out you're right on the money. And so, anyways, by the third night, Rey Mysterio Sr. pulls me aside and he says, "My friend, no show. We're leaving. All the wrestlers are abandoning the show because the promoter does not have money. He did not sell enough tickets." And so that was my first marketing lesson, if you will, that he didn't do the right marketing. He had Blue Demon, who's a very famous luchador. He had Rey Mysterio Sr., and he couldn't sell enough tickets. Well, it's because he was a crappy marketer, right?
Wow.
And so it's one of those things that you could have the best team members, you could have the best product. And I find that most founders or CEOs either fall in the product category and they love tinkering and making the app better or the service better, or their promotion. They're either product or promotion. And it might be their product's not even that good, but they're just so good at getting the word out and promoting that they can get enough people there and enough sales to get, you know, the product pushed out. So that was the first lesson in that story, was marketing and how vital that is for a business to be successful.
What's your philosophy on that? Do you think the greatest marketer will always beat the greatest product designer?
I actually believe promotion beats product every day of the week. That you could take, like, I mean, there's just so many times that, you know, products go viral, and then they're like little cheap plastic thing, like it's like, you know, the squatty potty. You look at that thing, it's a little plastic step, but they sold millions of units, and they put an amazing marketing campaign around it. They had fun commercials, and they moved a lot of product. And what is it? The product's not that good. It's just like the hype behind it was so fun, and that's what made everyone want to buy it, right? And so I do believe, though, that, you know, the market has gotten sophisticated, and I think you got to actually become a 1-2 punch. After you get your product down, or your promotion down, you really shouldn't go back and make your product just not the best in class. And that's where you go to the really exciting places. And again, I think looking at like what Vince did with whole WrestleMania is like, it was all promotion, hyping up WrestleMania, but then he really dialed in the product. And over the years, it's just become incredible. And that's why I think he's able to ask the amount he got. So I do think you need both, but I think when you're getting started, it's easier and better to start with the promotion skills.
I believe the Attitude Era taught me about the importance of there's no money in the middle, right? Either you got to be loved or hated. And once there's love and hate equal, then you have a winning combination. Very much like Stone Cold versus Vince McMahon. People love Stone Cold. They hated Vince McMahon, which now drew curiosity from the masses, right? You picked a side. You wanted to see one win and one lose. And there's two things there, I guess, right? So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you do have to pick a side, and you have to go all in on your brand, which is now going to divide people. But now you're going to divide them the right way, where you're going to get a lot of people who love you and potentially a lot of people who hate you. How do you take that lesson? Do you apply that lesson? And how do you apply that ideology to your own business?
It's funny that now you're bringing up people that hate you, because that's exactly what happened next in that story. So when the promoter went to the audience and said, "No show tonight," I think they got 2 matches, and then immediately they're being told there's no more show. They don't get to see the main event, which are the people they paid the tickets for. All the wrestlers are scrambling to the tour bus, but then out of nowhere, the doors bust open and those 800 angry fans came out. And one of them, I even saw point at our bus, and they all came running over and they all started shaking it. And I thought, this is it. I'm dead in Mexico. Like, because remember I said I checked all the boxes. Back then I had a flip phone. This didn't work internationally. I left with $200. I lied to my mom. I actually told her I wasn't going to Mexico because I knew she'd be scared. I told her I was going to be going to the East Coast, and nobody had my phone number. It didn't work. I was all out of money. I was like, this is literally the checklist to go die in Mexico. And then here I was in a bus with angry fans shaking the bus. And so I just thought, this is it. Nobody even knows I'm here. Oh my God, Dustin, you foolish idiot. What have you done? And so luckily the bus driver, he wants to get the heck out of there. So he fires up the bus and he slowly gets them going. You know how buses are, they slowly accelerate. Mm-hmm. So the fans are running alongside, they're hitting the windows, they're throwing rocks. Finally, he gets it going fast enough that he speeds ahead past them to the next town. And I kid you not, like a movie, he finds an old dark alley and he backs the bus in. and we literally see people like running past the alley, like looking, where do they go? Where do they go?
No.
And you go this way, you go that way. And I'm like, what are we gonna do? We're now trapped in an alleyway. And so they all kind of just run around. We all put our hoods on to hide that we're wearing wrestling gear, and we just sit down and we have some street tacos and we just have a laugh, because that's what you do. When you're in a stressful state, you can either continue to live in stress, or you can try to have a laugh about it and start talking solutions. And that's what we did. And luckily, I started talking to one of the other gentlemen on the tour, found out he was a ref for the WWE, and he showed me a picture of him holding up the Undertaker's hand and pointing at him. And he said, I used to work for Vince. I used to be in the WWE. And he said, my friend, Dustin, I see you are scared. You don't have any money. You don't know how you're going to get home. I'm going to, wrestling's a tight brotherhood. I'm going to do you a solid. I'm going to pay for a one-way flight home for you to go home. And I'm going to drive you to the airport in the morning. And I begged him for his name, his address. I'm going to send you the money when I get home. He refused. And so the next morning he did that. He drove me to the airport and I flew home. That's the only way I made it back to the United States in one piece, is because of that brotherhood that exists.
Unbelievable.
And so when we talk about the angry fans, I mean, when I was flying home, what I really kept thinking about over and over again that caused all these crazy situations was money. It was the common denominator. The promoter was a bad user of money for marketing. The fans were angry, like angry people who give you angry reviews because someone took their money and did not exchange value. I was stuck in a country that I could not get home because I had no money. And so that's where I kind of started tapping into my entrepreneur energy. And I started telling myself, when I get home, I'm going to figure this money thing out. I'm going to figure out a way to make some and never be in this predicament again. And that's where I went and started exploring entrepreneurship and opening up my first gym.
Beautiful. Yeah. So how did you create that first gym? Because I know that in order to get into that space, and maybe you can kind of touch on whether it's like a full-on gym, is it semi-private, is it just private? I know that there are different models out there. So what drew you to that? Was it just the love of personal development and staying healthy? Or was it just a great business model that you knew you could make money in?
Yeah, I've always been a side hustle guy. I was buying things on Craigslist and flipping them. I was buying like vending machines and Xboxes, all kinds of stuff. And I'd buy it and I'd mark it up and I'd just resell it for a few dollars more. And so this was just something I always did on the side of me being a personal trainer. That was like my main hustle, Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, I'd be a pro wrestler and I would be a weekend warrior. And so to side hustle, to make more side money, I actually started posting a lot on Craigslist that I was doing personal training in my garage, because I knew I don't got to claim it. I'm going to make no overhead. I could just ask cash. And then people are coming to me because I saw the other trainers, they were driving to people's houses. I was like, man, after gas and you got to load up your car with equipment and bring it in their house. I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. I'll give people a slight discount. Instead of $50 a session, I'll charge them $30, $35 to come to my garage. And I did it to the point where I got up to 40 or 50 clients doing it on a regular basis. And that's where I finally felt like this comfort that now I could go get a retail brick and mortar spot because I got enough clients. And so I hear all this, like, you got to quit your job and go all in on your business. But the way I did it was kind of like a dimmer switch. And I think the best entrepreneurs kind of do it that way. You have a job and you work on your side hustle. Like, no reason to put yourself in a financial strain while you work on the side hustle. And that's what I did. I had a full-time job as a trainer at a retirement community. And then I'd come home and I'd work on my side hustles because I had that dream in my head. I do want it to be my main hustle, but I can't until I see that financial stability, that it can pay my bills and replace my job. So that's kind of how I got enough clientele. And I opened that first gym in 2011, if you could believe. Like, that's 13 years ago. It's crazy.
Yeah. So you went from one location, not multiple you have under your belt, right? So tell us how the different skill sets that are required to go from one location to now scaling and pretty much being an owner rather than being in the business. You're working on the business. That's probably just a whole new ball of wax that you have to master, and many growing pains come along with it.
Yeah. So I went a little nuts. I actually opened 6 gyms in 6 years. And so what happened was I had the original title of my gym was Afterburn Personal Training. And then one day someone walks in and I didn't know, because the way you learn business is usually through mistakes. And they say there's an exchange often in business. There's money and experience, and the person with the money gets the experience, and the person with the experience gets the money. And so when you're inexperienced, you end up losing a lot of money to gain experience. And so one of them that I didn't know was I filed the name of my gym. I went to the state, I went to the county, I get approved, but then I get slapped with a cease and desist. And somebody else with the name Afterburn in their gym said, I have trademarked it, you're in breach, and you must change the name of your gym. And I said, but I went through all the, the things, and the one place I didn't check was trademarking. So he took my money, I got the experience there, right? I checked state, I checked county, but again, not having someone walking through all the things, I made this huge mistake. So at that point, I decided I could now rebrand, or I had my eye on some of these fast growing fitness franchises, and I decided to pull the trigger and join one. Now, there was a lot of good, but one of the things that I believe forced me to really go and open 6 years was that they were on fire. They're selling franchises, and I'm watching Southern California, where I live, disappear before my eyes. And I'm thinking to myself, if I don't grab some territory, so it was great urgency they placed on me, I won't have an area to expand to. I'm gonna have to literally go to another state. So I started buying and putting down payments on some other territories. But I believe if you guys are in franchising, don't do this to your franchisees, because you're forcing their growth ahead of when they're ready. I was not ready to go to that many locations, but I did it because they were doing a great job of urgency. But what they didn't think about was long-term success. And I see a lot of locations that failed because they also felt that pressure, and they all expanded. And you just open because you have to, not because you're ready and you have the culture and the leadership and the systems. And so although I did go to 6 gyms in 6 years, and that's impressive to hear, I also went back down to 3 gyms just 2 years later, because 2 of them were not a good market and we had to close them. And a third one I ended up selling because it was also not a good market. So more is not better is what I want to kind of get across here. Better is better. And so if your franchisor is stressed, is really, putting pressure on you to expand, do not fall prey to it. And then, franchise HQs, don't take that approach, because you're going to hurt yourself in the long run.
Yeah, I know a bunch of real estate investors, and they say the same thing when it comes to units, right? Saying you have 4,000 doors sounds great, but the best part of having 4,000 doors usually is the ability to say that. The other stuff is not that cool. And if you have 2,000 doors of high quality Class A property, then you are much more proud of it, and it usually yields a better life. So more is not always better. Great point there. All right, so now you grow the gyms, you downsize, you start to understand the ins and outs of the fitness world. And what you did was you took all that advice that you learned, those lessons, and started to be of service to the many, right? You started to help other individuals grow their businesses. So tell us how that all came to be.
Yeah. So one of the critical pieces that I saw in my own industry, but now I've learned it's in almost all industries, was lead follow-up. And I saw that this was a major problem, because in a gym, the way they're laid out is usually they're just a big square or rectangle space. There's not like a lot of mini rooms chopped up. You're just in a big space running. You asked earlier what kind of model. It's mainly boot camp and small group training. So trying to be a one-to-many approach tends to be the most profitable. One-to-one personal training tends to be the least profitable unless you're a solopreneur. Like if you are the trainer and the owner and you're doing everything, you can tend to make good money. But to scale it, it's very difficult. I always challenge people, tell me the most well-known franchise of one-on-one personal training that's across the United States. And there is none, because
I was just racking my brain. I have no idea. There isn't one.
It's not a scalable model. One to many is scalable. And that's why more franchises and big brands do boot camp or small group training, because you want to pay one person to run 4 to 30 people through a workout. And so what I started to notice was, even in my own gym, I struggled with the follow-up just because of the environment and the type of person I brought in. So I'll touch on those. The environment, it's loud. There's music. There's a coach on a mic yelling. There's people stopping at the desk with "you got a minute." And so I would come to them and say, why didn't you do your follow-up? And I was quick to blame them, but then I looked around their environment. I was like, man, I really have set them up to fail. Like, who could get any work done? And like, that's why I didn't go to the gym. You know, like I was working from home because I knew how loud and distracting it was. And then the person. So when I put up the job posting, the coaching I was getting from other mentors was hire administrative assistant or front desk person. And so when I did that, here's the beauty of you guys sometimes hiring a mentor out of your space, because the mentors in your space can sometimes be echo chambers or regurgitate the same thing that they're all saying.
Great point.
So at this time in my career, I actually went and got someone out of fitness and a mentor, and I got so many good insights from their eyes because they're looking at it with fresh perspective, not like this is the way we've always done things perspective. So he saw me hiring administrative assistants. He's like, why are you hiring administrative assistants to do sales? And I was just like, it's just what we do in our industry. And he's like, dummy, administrative assistants are good at like logging things, data entry, organizing, keeping the gym clean, you know, the contact contractors if something breaks down. They're kind of just like going to be like a busybody, but that's not a salesperson. Like, you know, you're trying to fit a square person into a round hole. Like you need to put up a job posting that says sales associate, sales representative, you know, sales expert. And then he's like, watch how this will change. So I did that. And then I changed the environment. I also mixed it with, they're going to work from home. They're not going to come to the gym. And this was like groundbreaking for me. I was like, holy cow, when I saw these results, when I hired someone that had sales experience and they did not come into the noise distracting environment, they worked from home. And this was ahead of everybody doing this during COVID. This was around 2017. I did this. It was a huge game changer for the business. And right when I started to announce that I'm doing this to other owners, they're like, man, I wish you could just do it for me because I don't want to go and find people and hold them accountable. And gym owners, we like to see our team live in the gym. So it was a really hard framework for them to think of having someone off-site working for them. That is just like, it's just not normal. Where online businesses, this is just operations, day-to-day life.
We don't see our team ever, like only on Zoom calls now.
Yes. And so then I decided I see an opportunity here. The entrepreneur in me said, let's see if we can make this a done for you service and see if it has some legs. And so that's how the birth of Gym Reinforcements came around. And so last year we collected $4 million in sales for gym owners because we do all of their outbound text, calls, email. Thank you. And then, you know, we're employing almost 50 people who are sales reps or the sales manager holding the sales reps accountable. And it just really feels amazing that I'm helping so many other gyms because, you know, I'm very vested in helping people get healthy and fit. So that's kind of how Gym Reinforcements got started and what we do for gym owners.
That's amazing. And what you said there, I would assume is the common denominator. Most gym owners love the health world, right? They understand fitness. They love training. They love to see people lose weight, get stronger. They don't really take into account the marketing and the lead generation that's required. And that could bog them down from them focusing on their strengths. So you come in, you solve the problem of getting people in the door or on the phone, and you qualify individuals and find out what they're looking for, probably speeding up the process, saving them money, and then producing a better gym, a much healthier, financially stable gym on the back end, right?
Yeah. Yep. And that's actually our mission statement, is to create healthy bodies and businesses through sales, because the individual buys the program, gets the healthy body, the business, it becomes healthier with more members, and the vehicle we got there through is sales.
It's great. And that's what was the genesis of the book, Reinforce Your Gym, right here. Guys, look at this. If you want to know all about Dustin, this book will show you everything. There's an audio book that's underway, so you could even listen to it at a certain point. But tell us a little bit about Reinforce Your Gym, the firepower you need to build $1 million fitness business. Like he said, there's some great stories regarding running away from angry patrons that didn't get their money's worth of wrestling, but also great principles when it comes to building a fitness business from the ground up, $1 million, 7 figures. So tell us a little bit about what's inside this book. You know, give us some principles that you elaborate on.
There's three main sections. So I believe it's the three areas that would help a gym owner grow their business. And so the sections are marketing, sales, and leadership. And so when these three things are, like dialed in, it's like it could be your triple threat, or it could be, the triple whammy. There you go. There's me too.
Love
My
this.
wrestling
That's him as a
So
wrestler. That's him with the Young Bucks. Phenomenal.
yes. And so marketing, sales, leadership could either be the triple threat that kills your business, or the triple whammy that helps you stack it up. And so what we talk about in all three categories can apply to all businesses, but I'll give just a brief lesson from each. So when it comes to marketing, the first thing we talk about, and this is why I'm so fired up about gym reinforcements, is the fortune is in the follow-up. And there's so many businesses that get inbound and they just don't even reply same day, and they kind of just let business slip through their fingers. And a perfect example, Mike, we're putting a pool in our gym, in our gym. my clients would love that. A pool at our house. And
where's the pool at, Dustin? I heard it on a podcast. Yeah, cool.
So yes, I called 5 pool companies. 3 never responded to this day. And this was like 2 months ago. And I'm calling with a $100,000 investment, and they're not even calling me back. Right. So that's 3. The 4th guy I emailed, he responds a week later, to which I reply within an hour, and he responds a week later to that one. So I just saw we're going to have giant gaps of communication. I'm not going to work with you and put this huge project in your hands. The 5th guy, he says, I'll be at your house this afternoon. I'm going to measure it out and walk it. There's a little thing they walk around and measure your property. He's like, I want to hear what your vision is for this pool. I tell him, he's like, tell me your budget. I want to try to hit as close to your budget as possible. He does that. And then he says, can you come to my property in 2 days, or my showroom, should I say? And I want to show you a mock-up. I walk in, he hands me and my wife a water bottle and a granola bar. He has an 80-inch TV up, and he pulls up a program where it's a 3D mock of our backyard,
come on.
of what it would look like with the pool. And he even puts the water sound effect, because we have waterfalls that we're putting in. So you hear this trickling water while it's spinning around. Who do you think got the business, right? Like, it's a no-brainer. The experience that I went through. Now, here's the thing. The other 4 guys could have built the exact pool, like, skills-wise. They're like, oh, I could have did that. I could have did that. But your follow-up cost you $150,000 job. And so, like, when people call us and they hear, like, what the investment is, and it's, 2,000 to 3,000 a month, that might be a lot for a business owner who is struggling. But it's like, but what is it costing you when you miss out on a call? What is it missing you? Not only just the money, but what about the reputation? I called those guys. They never called me back. Those are the 4 guys I'm putting on blast right now that never called me back or gave me crappy follow-up. I'm not going to say the name of their business, but the 5th guy, I'm proudly referring. He asked, can he stake a sign on my front yard? Go for it, dude. I'm very proud of what you're doing here. And he's even coming in ahead of schedule. He told me 12 weeks, they're going to have it done by 10. So my kids are going to be in the water here, by end of April. And we met each other in January, like, you know what I mean? And so that's what I really get fired up about with marketing is, yes, you do need leads, but the critical component everybody sleeps on is the follow-up to those leads. We often find when we work with gym owners, and honestly, when I talk to people of all business sectors, they do 1 reach out. That is pathetic, guys. We do 20 in the first week. 1 reach out.
Wow.
That's are you not excited about what you sell? Because that's kind of going to go into my sales topic, is conviction. And a lot of people, if they do that deep digging, why am I not doing reach outs? I don't want to bother them, is the constant reply. I don't want to bother them. I don't want to keep pestering them. 2 in a day is, aggressive. Sure, it is if you don't believe in what you're doing. But do you think it's hard for Elon Musk to stand in front of a group of people and tell them how awesome Tesla is? No, because he believes in the product. He's a walking, talking billboard. So does your product suck? And a lot of times when I do deep digging, I find out that's the real hidden gut. They really have insecurity around their product. They actually don't think it's good. So I'm like, do some work on your product, make it amazing, and watch the conviction come out. And so that is like a lesson in the sales component, is that the number one way to amplify your sales is to get more convicted about what you're selling. And if you're not convicted, improve your product. If your product's fire, read more reviews. A lot of people don't sit down and read their own customers' words about how their life was changed by what they do. They just start to feel like it's, it's no big deal. Like, yeah, it's no big deal. I'm a pest control guy. Yeah, I sprayed their house. Or, oh, it's no big deal. I'm a pool guy. Yeah, I put a pool in. Yeah, it's no big deal. I'm a coach. I help them grow their business 2x. Like, it's just my normal day to day. But you don't stop and really focus on how you're changing people's lives. And if you're not paying attention to that customer success data, you could get feeling burned out, and you could lose your conviction. And that's the biggest travesty of all. So you got to be fired up about what you're selling to the marketplace to help with your marketing and your sales.
And I'm assuming people could do this on their own, right? They could make their own calls and do their own marketing, but it's just the time being condensed that's important. Plus the script, right? You have scripts that are time tested and market tested, so you know what to do, what not to do, whether it's the time of day to reach out to individuals, or how long you should be on a call, or what the pitch should be like. So it's all about the school of hard knocks, or just saving all of that wasted energy and going to the expert, right? So when you meet with somebody who has some type of objective, is that what you lean in on? Is that what you say to them?
Yeah, and you're right. We do have tech scripts to get the most responses from your database. We have a call script, the one call close we want to go for. And that's all fine and dandy. And that just comes from reps and experience and just documenting those SOPs. But at the end of the day, when we do some digging into somebody, a lot of time, the reason that they're not doing this stuff themselves, I come to find out, is that they have this major either money mindset or the like a lack of conviction. And so the money mindset is kind of like, when you grew up, what did you hear in your house? Money doesn't grow on trees. There's not enough money to go around. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. If you're being literally programmed to have these beliefs, and then you grow up as an adult who owns a business, guess what? You are the lid on your business. And so if you have this weird, icky feeling around asking for money, talking about money, charging something for money, this is especially true in fitness. We see it all the time because what we're selling is invisible. Like, at least, when Mike sells a book, I get a tangible thing. When when Apple sends me home with an iPhone, when I buy a Ford, I go home with keys in my hand. There's a tangible thing. Well, guess what? In fitness, I'm asking you to sign a 1-year contract to burn these invisible things we call calories, and that you should trust me, I'm going to make them disappear. That's
And it's going to require a lot of effort on your part, right? That's a tough sale.
It is I believe the hardest sale. Besides like dental and like life insurance, I don't know what could be more difficult, because these are things people don't want, but they need. And those are that's where you find gritty, hard, time-tested salespeople, when selling things people need, not what they want. Anybody can sell a vacation to Disney. Anybody can sell pizza. This is not sales, right? There's so much inbound coming in. You just got to take orders. Cold outbounding thing people need. That's what really builds a tough salesperson. And so a lot of times, then you have somebody with money mindset's afraid to ask for money. It's a recipe for disaster. That gym will struggle. And so you need someone that's convicted in changing it from a need to a want. That's that's the art that you're trying to switch over, is like, hey, you need to work out, you need to lose weight, you need to get healthy. And the person, they can then feel like their parents talking down to them. To switch it to something they want. Don't you want 6-pack abs? Don't you want to feel amazing every time you look in the mirror? Don't you want to wear the clothes that you want to wear, not the one that your body's forcing you to wear? Don't you want to be in photos and not hide from the camera and be the one to take the camera every summer? And so when you start to flip it, they start to say like, yeah, I do want this. Okay, what's this going to look like? What's the investment? And that's what you're trying to do on a sales call when you're selling something people need, not what they want, is to switch it into a want. And now you're going to have the upper hand.
Love it. Now you have something, I don't know how recent this is, but Your Fitness Empire. Is that right? Yourfitnessempire.com. you
Yes.
have the ability to coach individuals, sort of like a tribe that you're building of gym owners. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that ties in with the book to some degree. So tell us what you're working on with that.
Yeah, so I partnered up with a friend named Matt Wilbur, and now we're business partners with the Fitness Empire. We have a Fitness Empire podcast, and then we have the Fitness Empire mentorship. And so this isn't a mastermind. This is a very cost-effective way for you to work with two individuals who have built seven-figure businesses. Matt Wilbur has done it. I did it twice. He's done it 4 times. He's built $1 million gym that has done $80,000 to $100,000 a month in revenue. And so when you can do it over and over and over again, do you think you have it down to a system? Like, yes. And so that's what you're going to be sitting under the learning tree of, is two guys together that have 30 years experience in the fitness industry and together have 12 gyms. And so if these are your mentors, how much do you think that's going to pull you up when you're walking into a room of that thermostat? And that's exactly what we want to provide for gym owners, right? And so we want to help gym owners to build their fitness empire. I've done it, he's done it, but we really are very, I would say our mission that we're really, really convicted by, Mike, is the war against obesity, because this is the war on American soil. And not enough people are talking about it. There's stats from the CDC that the American population will be 50% obese by the year 2030, and the global population will be 50% obese by the year 2035. That is not a far timeline away. That's under 10 years for that many people to be obese. And by the way, if people don't know this, there's, like healthy body range, there's overweight, and then there's obese. Okay, so for 1 out of 2 people to be in the obese category in just 7 years is, to me, scary, heartbreaking, and something that's going to, I believe, hurt the American economy and the American culture. Because what do? We have this amazing business leader, but because they're unhealthy, they die too early at 45, and we miss out on all the other gifts they could have brought the world, right? That's where they say all the best business ideas we'll never meet are in the graveyard. And so what's the best thing you can do is you can invest in longevity, right? And milk as many hours or years as you can on this precious earth and with the people you love. And I believe being unhealthy is being selfish, right? Because you want this 5 seconds of beautiful tasting food in your mouth. You won't add 5 more years to your life, right? So we know self-discipline is needed in business. This is a great way to do it every single day, is build that discipline muscle of working out and, eating right and getting mentally stronger. And so that's why me and him are so excited to help gym owners, because we know this is how we win the war on obesity, is by amplifying the power of all the gyms across the United States. Because when gym owners win, communities win, families are affected. And that's why we're so super motivated about this. So that's what the Fitness Empire mentorship is all about.
Cool. Yourfitnessempire.com. Check it out, guys. And I totally agree. You got to get your money right first, right? Money gives you time, it gives you choices, gives you options in life. But in order for you to really reap the rewards of that, you need to have your health in order. And health does include, right, the fitness, the diet, the sleep. And if you can get that in order, now you can start to focus on potentially the personal development side. You have more time to level up your skills and maybe get your faith in order. So yeah, money, health, and then the other stuff comes much easier. Great point there. 2 questions here, kind of out of left field. Favorite wrestler of all time and favorite wrestler right now. I'll go first just so I can kind of give you some time to think about it. Favorite wrestler all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin, for sure. Has to be. I used to wear the shirts and all that to school with the middle fingers and get in trouble. So that was it. Number 2, I would say the greatest wrestler right now that I'm interested in is MJF, simply because he owns his brand more than anybody else. So what do you say, man?
I have a split answer, because there's the worker in me, the guy that looks at the workhorses and the guys that perform really well in the ring. And then there's the entertainer in me. So the worker in me wants to pick Shawn Michaels, because the guy never,
yeah, of course,
brought, like a bad match, always brought his working boots, was always ready to go, just all out, could sell like a beast. While the entertainer in me it's weird. Like the young Dustin, for some reason, sometimes we have these weird wrestlers that we loved. Mine was Kevin Nash. I have no idea why. He always just had my attention. I thought he was just so cool, and he was just so like
Big Daddy
badass. Cool. Yes, Big Daddy cool. But it was him. Now going back as like a like person who went in the business, The Rock, like the way he was in the ring, the way he was on camera. Just even to this day, he's still just a natural born entertainer. And so my entertainer goes with him and Kevin Nash, while my worker boot guy goes with Shawn Michaels. But today I will pull the bias card, and that is the Young Bucks. And it's not just because they're my friends, it's because I really do believe they steal the show every single time they step in the ring. They put on the best match. They're the most consistent. They just don't know how to mail it in, and that's how they were when I knew them and I was wrestling with them in the backyard. They were just like, what, we're gonna go longer, we're gonna do more, isn't this enough? No, more, we gotta do more spots, we gotta do crazier false finishes. And so that they're guys that just again continue to just blow me away with their consistency, which is something that I value. So that's why they're my favorite of today.
Yeah, I think they're the greatest tag team for sure that I've probably ever seen together, right? So like I don't know if looking back in the 80s, maybe people can, give them some type of competition, but nobody touches their ability to work together. And what's great about them is they're not trying to be solo wrestlers, right? They know they're a tag team and they work so well together. Guys, if you want to look it up on YouTube, Dustin and the Young Bucks did have a few matches. I think they're still on YouTube and you can see them. The walkout song, and this is when I first met you, I looked it up, is I think it's Bop by Hanson. So I knew you had personality. I knew you had some comedic skills, and it's pretty entertaining, some of the things that I was able to find on you on YouTube. So look it up, guys. But it's Dustin Bogle's Reinforce Your Gym. They can go to yourfitnessempire.com and they could follow you on social media pretty easily, right? With at Dustin Bogle pretty much across the board. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So guys, check him out. If you are in the fitness space or looking to get into the fitness space, Dustin's a hell of a guy that will just jump on a call with you and explain everything very clearly. So Dustin, thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else you want to say to the $1 Million Stories tribe?
If you guys want to get your story out like I did, then hit up Mike. He is your guy. He has a system. It works. And I'm very grateful for him and his team helping me get my message out to the world, because I honestly don't know if I would have done it without him. It's a lot easier to hire a mentor and a coach. And I'm just quicker to do that these days because I've seen the time collapse that occurs when you do it. So thank you, Mike, for what you provided to the world. It is very valuable, and I appreciate you, sir.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. Yeah, guys, when people get on my podcast and give me praise, I'm going to blast this podcast out there. So thank you so much for the kind words. It's been an honor to work with you, and check him out. I really do believe that, Dustin is a person that you want in your circle. So get in touch with him and work with him at any level. Guys, stay tuned for next week. We're going to have another $1 Million Stories author featured. And you will see how writing $1 million book will lead to $1 million life. And that's the bottom line, because the best-selling author wrote it. We'll see you next time.
Signing off.